Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of May 8th through the 14th of 2023. Alright, so this week we are coming off of course, that lunar eclipse that we had last Friday. And so it is a great week for implementing any shifts of insights, any shifts of direction of our path that we may have experienced last weekend. We will enter into the third quarter phase of the lunar cycle around this Friday, and that makes it a great time, especially around then, for again that integration. So we do have quite a bit going on this week. We do have some sign changes. There's likely to be a lot of shifts this week collectively. First of all, Mars is going to change sign, and this is going to be Wednesday midweek, going from more practical and inquisitive Gemini into more protective and perhaps caring and nurturing Cancer. We also have the Sun changing sign around Saturday, and this will be from Aries into more grounded Taurus, so where the focus has been more on being proactive and assertive, taking more initiative in our life, which is still going to be the theme with Mercury there. The Sun going into Taurus really starts to ground things, and it makes it very good for taking things slowly and steadily along the path. But early in the week, that Sun will be conjunct Uranus, so there could be some free-spirited energy, some excitements, some new beginnings with letting out perhaps some more of that true self around Tuesday. And then about mid to late week, around Friday, Saturday, we do have Venus forming a trine up to Saturn, giving us some groundedness and perhaps those relationships and values. And this is going to be in good harmony to Mercury, who is going to be going station direct at the very end of this week, very late Sunday of this week, early Monday of next week. We do have the end of the Mercury retrograde. And so that will be perhaps a bit of a pause around Sunday to see what we've learned these past few weeks, what new perspectives have shifted, and then things starting to move forward in regards to anything that's been on the back burner or being redone these past few weeks. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at all this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, May 8th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. Mainstream, unfortunately, does not use the visible sky. Even other forms of sidereal use an even 30 degrees for the constellations, but in fact, the constellations are different sizes. And so this will change the sign placements. If you are new to this channel, definitely check out the link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. All right, so let's do a bit of a recap. We had that lunar eclipse last Friday. We are in the eclipse lunar month still this week, of course. And this part of the lunar month is really good for, again, that implementation. Being in what will be the disseminating phase of the lunar cycle coming into this week, which is all about disseminating insights, new perspectives, new shifts that may have occurred around that lunar eclipse last Friday. Makes it a great week for that. But as we start to get to around Friday and the weekend, particularly to challenge ourselves to move some of that energy forward, that'll be the third quarter moon where the sun and moon square each other, and it becomes that integration point where things really do get built and things become very constructive for the lunar month. And again, it's a very important lunar month because we are in the eclipse month, which makes it particularly significant for the life path. All right, so that's the sort of bigger picture there. But in terms of some of these sign placements, because we do have some sign changes this week with the Sun and Mars, we still do have the Sun in Aries coming into this week up until about the Saturday time period. Mercury retrograde is here in Aries as well. So Aries has been a time to focus more on taking initiative in our life. And it's been a great time to implement more of that proactivity, more of that assertion, more of that action-oriented, goal-oriented, maybe needs-oriented type of energy. And so it's still very good this week, perhaps still reworking some of this with Mercury retrograde, right? Reconnecting with ourselves in different ways, re-examining our needs, who we are, what we want. All that should still be quite flexible just because Mercury is still retrograde. The last week he'll be retrograde this week. But yes, things definitely in the more fiery side of things still. And the sun will conjoin Uranus. We'll talk about that. But Venus has recently started to get into Gemini since last week. And so coming into this week, we do have Venus and Mars in Gemini. And Gemini is all about learning and communication. And so there is particularly a strong theme at the moment, especially in interpersonal relationships. Both Venus and Mars are the polarities, the yin and yang of interpersonal relationships. And so we could be enjoying a bit of that, again, learning with others, communication with others, or solo as well. Picking up that book or doing some studies or learning can be very enjoyable, not only this week, but for the coming weeks with Venus taking her what will be a long transit there of Gemini. And Mars will be finishing Gemini this week, but for these first couple days up until he does, because he will go into Cancer around Wednesday. Again, there is perhaps a bit of directness and assertiveness with those communications and maybe expressing our needs and maybe a bit of fire behind the mind. But that's going to be the case, I think, continuing anyways, because Mercury in Aries is very similar to that. Aries is Mars's sign. Gemini is Mercury's sign. And so it's the swapped energies there. So there's still going to be some of that going on. But anyways, a great time for learning and communication with those interpersonal planets there in Gemini. Okay, so looking at this for each day of the week here, starting first with Monday. No major aspects going exact on Monday, so that's going to place more of an emphasis on the moon's placement. And so in this case, the moon will be finishing Ophiuchus. Now, this is a very important part of the sky because it is where we have the center of the galaxy, the center of the Milky Way. And if you looked at the sky, you'll see a huge concentration of stars in this part of the sky, which is very symbolic for the very strong energy that it entails. And so in this case, when the moon passes over here, it usually is quite transformative. And so those days leading up to Monday have been good for perhaps connecting more to our deeper selves and the deeper life in general, with the moon in Scorpio and Ophiuchus, the deeper part of the sky. But, getting to that deeper point on Monday, we then usually transform. And so there's usually something that either gets released or we reclaim something by letting something go. It's really the part of the sky that deals with transformation, endings and beginnings. And this is where we start to get into the more free-spirited, post-transformed energies of Sagittarius, which most of us will feel late Monday, and as we go through this early part of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So this early part is very good for a bit of that open-mindedness and free-spiritedness that usually comes after some of that healing or personal transformation. Now, Tuesday, we do have the sun passing over Uranus. This is quite significant. A yearly energy here, starting a new cycle with Uranus for the solar year. And so Uranus is all about accessing more of our true selves. And I think there could be certainly a new beginning with this. At least it's very good to set some new intentions with cultivating more of this side of ourselves. So how can we access more of that individual self-expression, our uniqueness, our unorthodoxy, our, again, true self that wants to, act more on our excitement and do things that are more in alignment, that give us that sense of freedom. So really good for intentions with this, and we could certainly notice some new beginnings starting to emerge with that side of ourselves. Again, in Aries, it's likely going to be in a way that is more proactive, more assertive, more independent, which has been the main lessons, let's say, with Uranus in Aries over these past 4 years now. So great for that energy. Okay, so that's the conjunction there, starting new beginning with Uranus energy. Again, we'll have that free-spirited energy of Sagittarius, both Tuesday and Wednesday. Once we start to get into the Thursday time period, the moon will start to go into Capricorn. And so Thursday and Friday, good for maybe some productivity, maybe some discipline, maybe some of that patient and persevering energy of Capricorn. So it can be productive, but I don't just mean that, professionally, like through our work and stuff. It's also a great time of building things in relationships or home life. Basically, in this case, wherever you have both Capricorn and Saturn, currently Saturn, but where you have Capricorn in your chart, or where you may have Saturn transiting in your chart at the moment. But this is very good for a bit of that, patience and perseverance and productive energy to build some of that maturity, some of that groundedness, some of that long-term sort of view on things, that'll be both that Thursday and Friday time period. And just to recap, I didn't go over it again. Wednesday, Mars will be shifting sign. Okay, so that's going to be from Gemini into Cancer. So Wednesday we'll likely start to notice a shift of how we're taking action and how we're asserting ourselves. Okay, and so where he's been in Gemini, again, has been adding a lot of fire to our minds and communications. Where he's going into is going to start to add more water to this, right? So water of Cancer is really the protective side. And so Mars here can be particularly protective of ourselves and those close to us and personally. And it's good to exercise that in constructive and healthy ways. Not the best placement for Mars to be in, especially according to Hindu or Vedic astrology. More of a challenging placement, most certainly, for Mars here. So it's all about finding the healthy way, because we'll maybe tend towards more imbalance with that, just because fire and water are very different energies, right? You have Mars, that's who we are, what we want, pursuing things, and we have Cancer, which is, wait a minute, what's important to us emotionally, who's important to us emotionally, how can we perhaps retreat a little bit, connect more to our feelings, connect more to our intrinsic values, our intrinsic personal values. And so how can we merge these very different things? And so good to challenge ourselves with that. But again, a great way of channeling that will be towards maybe taking some of that proactive and assertive energy towards our personal life, towards our home life, or towards, being protective for those that are important to us emotionally or that we consider family, and perhaps expressing our needs for self-protection and boundaries, and creating that protective environment for ourselves as well. So any of that fire to be directed towards personal life, home, family-like relationships, and all in all, just more protective energy for ourselves and others, I think is a great way of working with that Mars there in Cancer. Okay, but just wanted to recap that because that is going to be Wednesday. Now, as we start to get into the weekend here around Friday, first of all, the moon will shift signs. We'll go into Aquarius both Saturday and Sunday. That'll place less of a theme because we do have some aspects I'll talk about. But it could be a good couple days there for perhaps getting more into our collective values. Collective as in focusing on the world, maybe some of the future stuff, and even our own collective. So connecting to maybe friends or community and things like this. So that'll be Saturday and Sunday, early part of Sunday. Sorry, I might have said Friday. Friday is Capricorn. Saturday and early Sunday is Aquarius. Okay, the grounding energy is Thursday, Friday. Then the more collective values will be Saturday and the early part of Sunday there. Okay, but that's going to be definitely on the less influence side of things. What's going to be the highest influence is going to be likely this Venus trining Saturn, but Mercury is also involved as well. So you have Venus, the planet of our values and relationships, in good harmony with responsible, disciplined, persevering Saturn, basically the planet of that Capricorn energy. And so it's nice to see these in harmony. We can be quite mature in our relationships. We can be quite mature in what we're enjoying in life, whether it's the simple pleasures or a good meal or some relaxation. It can be quite grounded. We can take a more responsible approach to that. Or, spending money, as Venus can be, again, our values. And so it also represents money and resources. So just a good maturity when it comes to enjoying life. And it also comes to connecting in our relationships. That's just a nice synergy that we have collectively. Now that trine is in good harmony to Mercury, who is slowing down. Again, he is going to go direct very late Sunday and early Monday of next week, late Sunday this week. So that's going to really drag out the Saturn influence. But it's just a minor influence, but it's nice to see that when it does come to whatever we are thinking about with Mercury, whatever we're communicating, whatever involves that mental or communicative and even day-to-day life, just has a nice synergy, a nice support from Saturn, right? From that disciplined and grounded side of ourselves. So nothing major with that sextile, but as you can see, it's this aspect here. It does drag out quite a bit, and that's going to even go into next week quite a bit as Mercury slows down for his direct late Sunday, And there is the synergy there with the more grounding side of things with Saturn. Okay, so nice to see that. And yes, and then as we do get to around Saturday, the sun will go into grounding Taurus. And so this is going to start the next month plus on focusing more on the resourceful side of things, to connect to our inner resources, focus on things like cultivating our natural talents, our natural abilities, our gifts, also our self-worth, self-value, and externally our resources as well could be great. Focusing on maybe enjoying the simple pleasures of life, cultivating more abundance in our life, maybe connecting more to nature, or having some more sensual, material enjoyment experiences. And so that's great to certainly focus on with the sun shifting there. And that'll be slowly Saturday going into next week. And then the elephant in the room, Mercury going direct. So again, he's slowing down here, and he will shift late Sunday. So it's usually a good time to just kind of pause with some things. Sunday, Monday, as things do tend to shift direction. But it really is the influence of slowly starting to implement now whatever we've been mulling over or has been on the back burner, or we've been literally redoing these past 3 weeks during the retrograde, right? And so it's nice to see that the day-to-day routines will probably start to move forward again. Any correspondence, communication, just our perspective in general, right? These things will be, although paused on Sunday, Monday, starting to shift forward next week. All right, and also next week, bleeding into Sunday a little bit, Mars is going to be in good harmony to Neptune, a nice trine there, so some nice receptive energy, maybe some compassion, some willingness to go with the flow a bit when it does come to that assertion. All right, so we covered a lot of ground here in this weekly. Let's go and just simplify it now. The most important thing is that we just had that lunar eclipse. It is a week of implementing shifts of perspectives and maybe quite literal things that have shifted since around Friday of last week. Okay, we do have this Sun-Uranus conjunction on Tuesday, so it could be a good early part of the week for accessing more of that true self, right? Accessing more of that excitement in our life. Mars will start to go into Cancer around Wednesday, starting to pull more on our protective side and finding healthy and constructive ways to assert that protective side. Okay, and then it's just nice to see that particularly this later part of the week that Saturn is in good harmony to that Mercury. So as things are slowing down for that movement forward with our routines, with our perspectives, it's nice to see that there is a productive, grounded, and constructive energy available to our minds and communications. And it's particularly available to our enjoyments and relationships around the Friday, Saturday time period while Venus is trining Saturn. The trine is a stronger aspect, and so this is particularly synergistic for those values and relationships Friday and Saturday there. All right, Saturday. So this again, whole time is starting to integrate, particularly integrate the lunar eclipse energy, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, moving that energy forward, challenging ourselves to do it. It could be a very constructive weekend for that. And then Saturday, the sun does start to go into Taurus, adding to more groundedness, particularly in the sense of cultivating our inner and outer resources. And then that Mercury station on Sunday to pause and maybe reflect a little bit in regards to what we've learned the past few weeks and maybe what we want to start to implement moving forward. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter. We do get these videos released first before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube. If you're not signed up yet, there's a link down below for that. It's absolutely free. But again, have a great one, everyone. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.